Hi everyone, the weather has been rubbish, so I haven't had a chance to get out into the garden or work on any projects this week, but I still wanted to make a video for you guys. So I worked as a butcher from when I left school up until I was about 23, so I sharpened quite a few knives during that time. So I figured today I'd make a video on knife sharpening and share a bit of that knowledge with you guys. Before I made this video, I did jump on YouTube to see if there was much interest in knife sharpening, and holy heck, some people are really passionate about it. If you like to get into the science of it and use 6 different stones, then put it on a leather strop and all of that, then hey, that's all good, each to their own. I'm simply going to show you what I was taught during my time butchering and show you how I like to do it, which happens to be a pretty simple process that most people at home should be able to follow to put an edge on their dull kitchen knives. So these are what I use to sharpen my knives. This is a Cambrian 14-inch superfine butcher steel with a striker pad down the bottom there. I like a superfine or a polished finish on my steels, as the way I see it, the only purpose of your steel should be to hone the edge. It shouldn't be to sharpen it, so you don't need a coarse finish on it. And this is a Norton India IB8 combination oil stone, which has 400 grit and 150 grit faces on it, which is considered to be on the coarser side when it comes to sharpening. The India stones themselves are unique in the sense that they're soaked in oil during manufacturing, so you can only use oil as a lubricant on these particular stones. Water will simply run off them and your stone will end up loading up. When I say loading up, I'm referring to a build-up of swarf on the top of the stone that will stop the stone from removing material from your knife. So before getting a stone and using it, it's important to understand what kind of stone you actually want and how to get the best performance out of it. Also, before I get into my technique, I wanted to quickly touch on the different kinds of knife edges or grinds. So when I was an apprentice, my boss was the first person to teach me how to sharpen a knife, and he liked to run a chisel edge on his knives. So what he'd do is he would keep one edge of his knife between the spine and the blade dead flat on the stone, and then he'd run quite a steep angle on the other side. I tried it for a while, but for the life of me, I could never get a consistently sharp edge along the full length of the blade. Another guy I worked with ran a full flat on his knives, so he would put both sides of his knife dead flat on the stone and completely grind away any sort of shoulder whatsoever, and then he'd put a slight micro bevel just on the very edge of his knife. In the end, after trying a few different edges, I landed on centerline or Scandi in this picture, as that's what worked best for me. What I'm trying to say is there's many ways to skin a cat. None of them are the best or the right way to do it. Just do what works for you and what you feel comfortable doing. Moving on to technique, I've seen so many people do so many different patterns on their stones, from little circles to straight back and forth to running their knife on a diagonal back and forth, all sorts of things. Again, this just comes down to personal preference and what feels comfortable to you and what gives you the best results. I'm using the 400 grit side of a stone here, which is what I'll use 99% of the time. I'll only use the 150 grit side if I have a knife that's in a seriously bad way and needs a lot of material removed, say if it's been dropped or something like that. So moving on to technique, I like to do it something like this. Firstly, I'll set my stone up parallel to me. I'm doing it on a bench, so I'll chuck a tea towel under there, stop it sliding around as much. Set the stone up like that, and I just make sure I've got plenty of space both sides of me, so I'm not going to bang my elbows into anything. And because this is an India stone, I'm going to be using oil on here. So this is just a bit of mineral oil, you don't need a whole lot. So something like that should be fine. Then you can just use your finger, or if you've got a rag, you can just use that to spread your oil around. Cool. I always start at the tip. I think it's a habit I picked up when I was doing a lot of boning, is that area of the knife gets a lot of use, so you want it nice and sharp, and it can also get a bit of a hiding sometimes. Anyway, the aim here is to keep a consistent angle along the full length of the blade. You want to apply firm pressure so you can control your knife in the angle, but don't go overboard with it. The reason I like this technique is it doesn't matter what shape the blade is of the knife I'm sharpening. The pattern for the most part remains the same. So I could be doing a boning knife, a steak knife, a skinning knife, or a chef's knife. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what the profile of the knife is, I'm still able to maintain that same motion. So after a few passes, you can go ahead and inspect your edge. You'll be able to see the freshly ground sections as they'll be shiny. Keep going until you see you're making contact along the full length of the blade. So before we steel our knife, we want to get it very clean, so we want to get all of that swarf off of there. So to do that, I'm just going to use this tea towel that I've got here and just run the knife through it like that. So the idea here is that all your sharpening is done on your sharpening stone. The purpose of your steel is only to realign the microscopic edges of your knife, which is why I run either a superfine or a polished steel, because the purpose here is just honing that edge, realigning it. It's not to sharpen it. So when I steel, I like to run down the steel. I've seen people do it this way. I've seen people do it on a bench. Do whatever feels comfortable to you. But the idea with it is that, again, you're keeping a consistent angle as you want to align the blade, or the edge of the knife I should say. When you do it, just take your time. There's no points for doing it as fast as you can. I know on TV you see chefs doing it super quick, but I find it's more effective when you do it slowly and make sure your angle is consistent. So in terms of pressure, you really don't need to do this very hard at all. All you're doing is aligning that very thin edge, so it's a very light motion. So after that, you've put it on your stone, you've cleaned it, you've then done your steeling. You then need to check if your knife is sharp. So I've seen a lot of people chopping paper on YouTube, so try that if you like. I believe it should cut the paper smoothly without ripping it if it's sharp. We didn't have much paper at the butchery, but I did have plenty of arm here, so that's how I used to check if it was sharp. So it'd be something like this, and I'll just check along the full length of the blade, so it feels like there's a bit of a dull spot there, so I'll probably put that back on the stone. I don't so much look at whether it cuts my hairs, it's more the way the blade grabs my skin. It's sort of hard to describe, but I think it's similar to how people check their edge on their fingernails. So I've seen other butchers do this on their fingernails, check their edge. So yeah, that could do with another go on the stone. Feels sharp. I'll do the paper test just for your guys' entertainment value. Bear with me a minute. Alright, here we go. I think it's supposed to go something like this. pretty good. I think there's a bit of a technique to doing that. But I mean, it's going to cut veggies just fine in the kitchen, isn't it? Alright, so there you go guys. If your knife is cutting paper no problem, you can go ahead and stop there. If it's not, go ahead and do a few more passes on the stone, clean your knife again, give it a steel, and repeat the process until it's sharp. And that's pretty much it. Like I said at the start of the video, this isn't the only way to sharpen a knife, but it's what worked for me while I was butchering, and it's what I still use today. It's simple, consistent, and it gets the job done. If you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. Feel free to ask questions in the comments below. I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.